after many articles and reports that the Miami Dolphins are going to be very aggressive free agency, I think that has been solidified and pretty much confirmed after the Julius Thomas trade. Mike Tannenbaum is known to be aggressive and get that big name in free agency. So I thought we would talk about who the Dolphins would target to fill some of the needs. Now, I'm not saying, when I mention all these names, I'm not saying that we're going to sign them all. I'm just saying these could be some players that the Dolphins target. And by the way, I'd like to say before we get to the video, I thank everybody who on last video, Julius Thomas video, for commenting. I love the community that we have on this channel. It's a privilege making videos for you guys, and it's so nice that I get to talk about Dolphins with you guys, Dolphins football with you guys. So let's get into this. Just to, again, before we get to the first guy, I would like to say the Julius Thomas trade, after some consideration, especially from you guys, I do think the trade was good because we don't lose anything if he doesn't stay healthy. Other than, I mean, hopefully we re-sign Deion Sims, and so we have a little bit of insurance there for a receiving threat. Anyway, let's start with the first guy. So the first guy, obviously the Dolphins are in need of linebackers. And I think Zac Brown is a very, very underrated name. Obviously he was a Pro Bowl alternate, which, depending how much stock you want to put into that, that's up to you. Zac Brown, a lot of people point to his Buffalo Bills game against us, obviously J.J. The one on the road, and obviously the one at Buffalo, which everybody's like, well, if he's so that good, why did Jay run from over 200 yards? Well, my argument against that is Lorenzo Alexander is also on that defense. Jerry Hughes is also on that defense, and those guys are considered some of the best at what they do. Kyle Williams is also on that defense, who also made the Pro Bowl. So that's a collective group. That's a schematic issue. That's not a talent problem. And I think Zac Brown he's probably, in terms of free agent linebackers, he's probably the best coverage linebacker that you could possibly get. And I'll let Dante Hightower, which we're going to get into here in a second, he's not as good in coverage as Zac Brown is. He's not as athletic as Zac Brown. Zac Brown isn't as strong as Dante Hightower, but he's pretty dang strong. He's a pretty big guy. He's really good in open space. He's very smart. He's a very smart player. Like I said, he's strong. And I think he would fill that middle linebacker, physical middle linebacker that we've been missing for some time now. I think he checks the box of physicality. I think he checks the box of pass coverage. I think he checks the box, the 4-3 system. I think he fits perfectly into it. He can run sideline to sideline. He has great recovery speed. He can cover tight ends in the NFL. He can tackle really well. He's a very, very good tackler. So I think he checks all the boxes that we really need at middle linebacker. So moving on to the next guy, who's also a linebacker, is Dante Hightower. Now, Dante Hightower, who we just talked about, Zac Brown, Dante Hightower is a freak of a physical, imposing middle linebacker. Sets a tone on the defense. Super smart. He's a great pass rusher. He's probably, in terms of a blitzing middle linebacker, probably the best in the NFL. None bigger than the play than at the Super Bowl. Obviously, strip sacking Matt Ryan, which is probably the biggest momentum turnaround in that game. Dante Hightower is a beast, and as a Dolphins fan, you guys should know that more than anybody else. His TFLs are off the charts. He's a great run stuffer. He's a physical, like I said, he's so physical. He's probably, he is so strong. I've seen him, go watch the Falcons game. I think even on that strip sack, he just moves people out of the way. So you could use him in a variety of different ways. You could blitz him. He could be that pass rusher for you in the middle of the field on a third down, which we tend to do a lot at last year. Vance tried to do that a lot with Kiko. Kiko a little bit was too small for that in terms of going right up the gut, A-gap blitz or something like that. Dante Hightower would be perfect for that. The only problem with Dante is he's not the greatest pass coverage guy. I don't think he's ever had an interception in his NFL career. He's not. The knock on him coming out of college was his he's not very good at guarding scat backs, which in the NFL has shown true. We've exposed him in the games we've played against the Patriots. We've used running backs to get him. One of the most notable plays is the Marcus Thingpen play a long time ago. So that was actually for the win. Yeah, so Dante Hightower, if let go and signed by the Dolphins, would be a great addition to the defense and would fill that middle linebacker presence that is much needed. He is probably the best middle linebacker in free agency by far. Okay, so let's go on to the next guy. Let's go on to the other linebacker that I think a lot of Dolphins fans get confused for an actual linebacker. I get a lot of comments, and I want to mention this guy I just had a discussion. I can't remember his name. I'm not referring to you, but I am referring to. I get a lot of comments about this. Melvin Ingram is not a pass coverage guy. He's not a 3-4 guy. He's not a 4-3 guy. He's a 3-4 linebacker. He's not a 4-3 linebacker in any stretch of the imagination. Now Melvin Ingram is basically Von Miller's little brother. Melvin Ingram is one of the best pass rushing 3-4 guys in the NFL. Melvin Ingram is a straight beast. He dealt with some injuries last season, which then resulted in his sack numbers going down. He came off of a double-digit sack season. I think he only finished with 8, if I'm not mistaken. But Melvin, if we did sign him, he's obviously shown interest in the Miami Dolphins, which we've talked about in previous videos. So he obviously likes it here. He wants to be here. And Adam, obviously, I think Adam coached against him. Melvin is he checks some of the boxes that you would love at pass rusher. He's strong, fast. He's got a lot of different moves. He's versatile. He can be dropped back in coverage, but not on a regular basis. More of a schematic, like dropping back Jordan Phillips and getting a pick, basically something like that. So he's versatile. You can use him in some different ways. But he's a Pro Bowl caliber pass rusher that the Dolphins defense needs. So if we did sign him, I'm not saying use him as linebacker. Maybe stand him up like we did Olivier Vernon at defensive end, and let him get after the quarterback, which I think would be the best place for him to be, or the best idea. I think that would be a great idea. I think Melvin would be a dominant pass rusher on our defensive line. Okay, so we're basically done with linebackers. Let's move on to corners. Now, corners, I said, we made a whole video about why the Dolphins shouldn't trade for a big-name guy, and then one of the reasons being is because of the outside corners are so good. They're so very, very good. I love Byron, and I love Xavier, especially Xavier. I think Xavier, Dolphins fans don't know it yet, but with him being healthy for a full 16-game season, he's going to be a number 1 corner in this league. I predict he makes the Pro Bowl this upcoming season. That's how good I think Xavier is. So there's not a need for an outside corner, but there is a need for a slot corner because Bobby McCain is still a big question mark in my opinion. He gave up a lot of touchdowns last season. He was a liability in coverage. So there is a guy by the name of A.J. Bouye, who is a very, very good cornerback and fits that slot corner role because of his size, speed. He played outside corner, so he's very versatile. I think he would excel in the slot corner position. A.J. Bouye had one heck of a playoffs. I think he picked off Brady twice. He had a pick against the Raiders. Maybe it was only once against Brady. I think maybe it was twice. But AJ is a beast of a covered man-to-man coverage guy. Down there in Houston, they love playing their man defense, which is very popular. If you have a secondary that can play man defense in the NFL, you're going to be very, very successful. Now, what the slot corner position requires is a lot of man. There are more man than zone. So I think AJ Bouye fits that mold for the Dolphins defense, and I think it would fill that need, that question mark there, which is still a question mark. It's not a need. I want to classify it as a need. It's more of a question mark, and I think he would fill it really nicely, and I think he would make the Dolphins defense even. I think it would just be. He would make an impact right away. AJ Bouye, obviously young, and he's going to cost a lot of money. Like I said, these are all hypotheticals. These are players that the Dolphins might target. Which I think AJ Bouye, there's a lot of rumors that the Dolphins are going after AJ, so he's going to cost a lot of money, and talk about getting to bidding war like for people like Kenny Stills, but I know a lot of people want to fix this defense. He's well worth the money in my opinion. Whoever gets AJ is going to get a very, very good cornerback for a very long time. He's very young. Okay, let's go on to another corner, Tremaine Johnson. Now the difference between Tremaine Johnson and AJ Bouye is he is way less versatile than AJ is. We have not really seen him play in the slot a lot, but I would like to remind people DRC. Now DRC played a little bit of slot corner before he was exclusively a slot corner this last season, but he doesn't fit the mold of a slot corner. He's super athletic, but he's about like 6'2", 6'3", maybe 6'1", somewhere in that range. So he's a big slot corner. So Tremaine Johnson, theoretically, I don't know if he has quick enough feet, I don't know, but he's a very, very good man coverage corner who he could probably fit in that slot position. He probably would do very well. One of the most underrated players in the NFL, and I do not think he's going to return to the Los Angeles Rams. Tremaine Johnson obviously had 7 interceptions. He's coming off a 7 interception season. His production really dropped off this past season because I think people tend to not throw his way as much. He only had 1 interception this past season, but he's big, physical, fits what we want to do here, press corner. But again, he's more of an outside guy, less likely to be targeted by the Miami Dolphins. Okay, so let's move on to the next player here, and I think we're going to move on to positional. We're going to change positions here. We're going to go to defensive end. Now, Jason Pierre-Paul is a name that keeps popping up when people are talking about the Dolphins. NFL.com did a free agency matchmaker, and Jason Pierre-Paul was matched up with us. Now, Jason Pierre-Paul would cost a pretty good sum of money, and whether he'll leave the Giants or not, that remains to be. But if he did, I think he would be somebody we target. He's 28 years old. He's pretty young. He's in his prime. He leads the. I think if at the time he was beating Von Miller before he got hurt for the rest of the season out. In quarterback pressures. He gets after, he's top 5, top 3 in quarterback pressures when he finishes his 16-game season, obviously, or just relatively healthy season, misses like 2 games. He's always up there in the top 5 in quarterback pressures. So he gets after the quarterback. He's really good against the run. He's a strong guy, super strong guy. And again, king of the sack fumble, strip sack. Him and Cameron Wake have similar type of games. I feel like they're very, very all-around versatile defensive ends, and I think he would fit right at home in the 4-3 system that we have here. I think J.C. Pierre-Paul. Like again, we're forgetting about money and all this other stuff right now, but this is just players the Dolphins would target. J.C. Pierre-Paul, while it's probably going to be pretty dang expensive, would be worth the money. Really, I think he's well worth the money. He's probably the best pass rusher in free agency. So let's go to best all-around defensive lineman, that's for sure, in my opinion. Let's stay on the defensive line, and let's go on to Brandon Williams. Now, Brandon Williams is one heck of a football player, and he's about 28, he's around the same age as J.C. Pierre-Paul. He's a space eater. He's a guy who you put in the middle of the defense. He obviously was a huge part of the Ravens being the #1 run defense in the NFL. He's like, I dare you to move me. Watch the game against the Cowboys, which is the best offensive line in the NFL. They had trouble moving him out of the way. They attacked the outside. They did not go up the middle. Brandon Williams is a beast. He is so hard to move out of the middle of that defense. He gives you that run-stuffing presence. He's more of a two-down guy in run scenarios, which is what the Dolphins need more than anything. And especially to use Jordan Phillips in a limited snap count because the man's not consistent at all. That would be amazing to have that dynamic there. Brandon Williams would fix a lot of our run stuffing issues. He would be a very, very good addition next to Sue. And I think he should be definitely somebody the Dolphins look into for sure, because I think he fits a need for the Miami Dolphins more than anything. Like he would change that around pretty quickly. And dude, I don't even think Brandon's gonna cost that much. He's more of a guy who's flying under the radar, and nose tackles don't really get paid that much anymore like they used to, because they're not 3-down guys anymore. But I think Brandon, not the greatest pass rusher in the world, but a great, like I said, he'll change that run defense real quick. Brandon Williams is a beast, and I don't think he'll cost that much money. Okay, so let's go on to the guard position. Now, the guard position is very deep, as we all know, so I think we should start with probably the best guard in the NFL free agency, which is Kevin Zeitler, I think is how you're saying, or Zeitler, from the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's 26 years old. He is a he's ranked number 8th in Sports Illustrated's top guards, which is pretty crazy. Number 8, and he's 26. He's only going to get better. He would fit what the Dolphins like to do. It's a run-first type of an offense. Very good play-action blocker, and very good pulling guard guy. He's very athletic. He would fit what the Dolphins want to do. He fits in right just like a glove. He would be, again, he's another guy who's probably, offensive linemen are really popular right now because if you see the success in with the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Redskins, some of these successful offenses, the Packers, the Steelers, all have great offensive lines and all have great guards to pull, whether that be David DeCastro or, people, or, Zach Martin, people like that. Kevin is that kind of caliber of a guard. He's very, very good, and he's going to be a hot commodity in free agency. And if the Dolphins got their hands on him, which if they got it for, depending how much, we have a lot of cap room, that would be, we wouldn't have to worry about the guard position for a long time. Because I think you could have an average guard next to, like, you can have one average offensive lineman. We saw it with the Cowboys. Like, Doug Free is an average offensive lineman. He's nothing special. So if we could just solidify and get just another star on that offensive line, they'll be totally fine. And again, he's a guy who's going to be there all the time, and the guard position is physically demanding. So he's not going to get hurt. He's going to be there on a consistent basis. So that's what this offensive line needs. The unicorns need to stay together. Okay, so another guard that a lot of Dolphins fans like is Ronald Leary. Now, Ronald Leary is pretty much a beast in the booth. Ronald Leary is he's a great. They pulled him so much in Dallas. A lot of those big runs were due to Ronald Leary. Ronald Leary I think he's only 27, so he's another young guy who's going to be cheaper than Zach is because he's a little bit more of an unknown. Ronald is a very, very good guard, physical run blocker, fits what the Dolphins want to do, he's a big guy, he clears a lot of space, so J.J. will have a lot of fun running behind him, and Adam likes to pull guards a lot, especially if you're an athletic one like Ronald Leary is, and we saw that with Laramie, and Ronald would fit that perfectly. Even when we try to use Jermon, who's way less athletic than both Kevin and Ronald, if we somehow got like a Chance Warmack or somebody, or like, Ronald or Kevin, then that would be pretty amazing because they fit what we're trying to do so well. And Ronald's going to cost a little less than Kevin is. And yeah, so I think Ronald is probably going to be a guy who will be a Miami Dolphin pretty soon, and maybe a month or so. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. That's going to be it, guys. I am SkyX383, and I'll see you guys in the next one.